What's up, my divers? It's been a while. I'm back, and boy, I got a couple weeks of stuff to talk about, so I want to get right into it here, so I don't, so I don't take all day. I'm working at the pace of like a Nevada pool counter right now. So, with that being said, anyways, I first want to start this one out here by shouting out the Wicked Turtle Network. Those guys, Alex and Paul, great guys. They do What's Up Peeps and just different shows on there, and awesome stuff on Facebook. I'll be putting them in the description, putting a link to their stuff in the description. I'm going to be covering Camp Leapfrog, things that go bump in the ring, here probably tomorrow evening, maybe the next day. So, like I said, go check those guys out, Wicked Turtle Network. Watch What's Up Peeps. Lots to talk about. Eric Andre's back, new season of Eric Andre. System of a Down are back with 2 new songs. Sean Connery unfortunately passed away. Another thing I'm going to do is I've made a list of different local wrestling promotions that have been running weekly episodic content throughout the quarantine. Those promotions include Outbreak, True Wrestling, and Northern Tier Wrestling. Outbreak Quarantine, True Wrestling Bumps and Bruises, Northern Tier Wrestling Ignition. Lots of content coming out on a weekly basis, free of charge, right on YouTube, and I'll put the links. I'll put my playlist link right in the description of this video and any description I share the podcast out with. So, with that being said, that's the intro. Now let's go ahead and get right on into this big block of wrestling. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the week of October 12th through the 17th. Started off with Raw. Started off with The Fiend being drafted to Raw. Bayley stays with SmackDown. Randy Orton stays with Raw. Street Profits drafted to Raw. Charlotte Flair stays with Raw. We get our first match, Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black. The Black bounces Owens off the announce table. Meteor from the top, off the chairs. Black to Owens. Owens powerbombs Black through a table. Kevin Owens does pick up the win via pinfall. Next, we find out that Retribution stays with Raw. Lars Sullivan is drafted to SmackDown. Keith Lee stays with Raw. King Corbin stays with SmackDown. Alexa Bliss is drafted to Raw. Braun Strowman stays with Raw. Daniel Bryan stays with SmackDown. Matt Riddle drafted to Raw. Kevin Owens drafted to SmackDown. Jeff Hardy drafted to Raw. AJ Styles versus AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy versus Seth Rollins was our second match. Hardy Whisper in the Rim was pretty good on both guys. Very good match. Elias interrupts the match, attacks Hardy with the guitar. AJ Styles wins via pinfall. Excuse me. Raw drafts Elias. Sami Zayn stays on SmackDown. Lacey Evans is drafted to Raw. Nakamura and Cesaro stay on SmackDown. Sheamus is drafted to Raw. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Lana and Natalya is our third match of the evening. The results was Rose and Brooke via pinfall. The next match up was Andrade versus Angel Garza. This was a quick one, but Angel Garza gets the win over via pinfall. Bliss and the Fiend double Sister Abigail Vega and Andrade post-match. Nikki Cross goes to Raw. Ziggler and Rude drafted to SmackDown. R-Truth stays on Raw. Apollo Crews goes to SmackDown. Dabakato drafted to Raw. Next up, we got Ziggler and Rude versus New Day. New Day win via pinfall. Then we have Ricochet versus Cedric Alexander. Ricochet wins via pinfall. Titus O'Neil stays on Raw. Carmella goes to SmackDown. Peyton Royce stays on Raw. Aleister Black drafted to SmackDown. Akira Tozawa stays on Raw. Then we had the Women's Battle Royale, which Lana won. Next up is Impact. We open the show up with Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary versus Kira Hogan, Tasha Steelz versus Havoc and Nevaeh. This was a chaotic 6-way tag team match. Steelz was funny. Had Havoc in the corner. That was a funny moment. Tasha jumps off the top rope onto everybody. Taya and Rosemary do win via pinfall, and the next week we would have Havoc versus Rosemary. The next match was Fallah Bob versus Crazy Steve. Steve sings to Bob and puts him to sleep in a sleeper, and gets the win via pinfall. Tennille Dashwood, Tommy Dreamer, Brian Myers, Cody Deaner, Johnny Swinger versus Hernandez, Cousin Jake, Alicia, Rhino, and Heath Slater was the next one. Hernandez and Dreamer work pretty good together, and Team Heath wins via pinfall. Next one up here was Kimberly versus Kylie Ray. Loved the matchup. Kimberly counters a Hurricane Rana off the apron into a powerbomb and onto the apron. Results was Kylie Ray wins via submission. She won with a crossface. The next match was Madman Fulton versus the Big LG. This was better than Lee versus Strowman. It was a double count out, but the match was made no count out, no DQ, and the Big LG wins via pinfall. And then we found out that Rich Swann is back. Excuse me here. Next thing up is AEW. Best Friends versus FTR start things out. We get a 60-minute brush with greatness match. FTR super straight, ace level tag team wrestling, but they do go high risk first. Then we had a DDT fest. More referees being blind to Tully, but the results was FTR via pinfall. Miro and Kip kill the Best Friends at post-match because they broke a arcade cabinet of Miro's. So then we see Miro and Kip versus Sean Maluda. Miro and Kip win via submission. The match from AEW title eliminator tournament, Penta L0 versus Rey Fenix, Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela, Colt Cabana versus Hangman Page, Wardlow versus Jungle Boy is the brackets for the eliminator tournament going on. Next up we get Cody Rhodes versus Orange Cassidy. John Silver gets involved, gets the Dark Order ejected. We see a nice swinging DDT, Crossroads counter, ending sequence by Orange, and the match does go to time limit. Cody retains. Next up we see Matt Hardy out with his family. He's cleared. Sammy cuts a Darby Allin kind of promo on him, where he's going to put him away. Then we hear that there's going to be a 4-way tag team match to decide the number one contenders between Private Party, Silver and Reynolds, the Butcher and the Blade, and the Young Bucks. The next matchup is Big Swole versus Hikaru Shida. A nice through the ropes onto the ramp by Swole, hits the cutter in the ring, and a crazy straight jacket German suplex by Shida, but Shida wins via pinfall. Next up is the main event, which was Lance Archer versus Jon Moxley. It was a no DQ AEW title match. Kingston and Lucha Brothers were on the commentary. Moxley hits a paradigm shift immediately. Lots of callbacks to past NJPW USA title death match. Cool Kanen Senton off the apron by Archer. Nice release German suplex by Moxley. Moxley bounces chairs off Archer's skull, hits him with a paradigm shift off the apron through tables. Cool top rope blackout by Archer, 2 count. Moxley rolls Archer through for the win. Kingston and Lucha Brothers attack him after the match, and Kingston takes Moxley out with a choke post-match. Next up was NXT. We had Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong versus Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. Fish and Strong win via pinfall. Then we had Jake Atlas versus Ashanti the Adonis. This was a nice cruiserweight match. Atlas does win via pinfall. Then we seen Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano. This was a takeover caliber match. Theory adapting and learning the moves of Gargano on the go, but Gargano does win via pinfall. Next up was Candice LeRae versus Shotzi Blackheart. Crazy fantastic match. Codebreaker off the apron. LeRae to Blackheart. Nice second rope German by Candice. Nice lion moonsault by Candice. Indy Hartwell gives Candice brass knuckles and she wins via pinfall. Next up was Toni Storm versus Aaliyah. Storm 0 was a sick move. Toni wins with the Stormbreaker. It was the Air Raid Crash. Stormbreaker, I think it was, yeah. But then we had Killian Dane and Drake Maverick versus Imperium. Nice brain buster by Aichner. The results was Imperium wins by a pinfall. Everrise gets destroyed by Killian Dane post-match. Then we see Dexter Lumis take on Damian Priest. This was a nice match. We've seen a nice capoeira kick into a flatliner by Priest. An ankle lock on the hurt ankle of Lumis. Lumis swears. Nice belly to back leg drop. Kip up by Lumis. Grimes caves him in on the apron. Results was Priest wins via pinfall. Then Shotzi announced his post-match that Candice and Johnny's matches after Gargano kills Priest with a chair. Post-match, she announces that she's going to be picking their matches via spin the wheel, make a deal. Next up was SmackDown. We had Lars Sullivan versus Jeff Hardy to open the show. Notes, the Freak. They called him the Freak a lot. Lars Sullivan wins via pinfall. The next up, we have New Day versus Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sheamus. This was a 6-man to accumulate, 1 year since all 3 New Days have been together in the ring, and this was a great way to send them off. Great old school New Day match. New Day wins via pinfall, and we see then Daniel Bryan's back after 4 months. Hopes to shape up SmackDown roster, but he's interrupted by Seth Rollins. He calls Rollins dumb here. Next up, we have the Street Profits and Rude and Ziggler. This was a quick match. The Street Profits win via DQ. Then we had the Bayley and Sasha contract signing. Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns up next. A nice guillotine chokeout by Roman. Roman does win the match via submission there. Then we have SmackDown. Lars Sullivan versus Jeff Hardy. Ooh, yeah, I already called that. Yeah, duh, dummy. Next up, we have Ring of Honor from the 18th. This was opened up by Gresham saying that he it's what's been eating at him is that ROH needs to return to greatness. The first match was Fred Yehi versus Tracy Williams. Nice little collegiate wrestling match here. Holding German suplex from Yehi. Nice brain buster by Williams. Nice power driver from Yehi. Both wrestlers use all 3 of their rope breaks. Tracy uses a dragon sleeper on the ropes, and Tracy does win via submission here. EC3 comes out, and he wants to know if there's honor in Ring of Honor yet. He's trying to find a greater purpose, and will he find honor in history at ROH to fight the best competition? He's there to fight the best, I guess. So EC3's with them, and maybe Impact too. I'm not sure too much, but next up we had PJ Black versus Josh Woods. Lots of nice controlling, rolling around. He forced PJ to the mat. No high flying. PJ was no slouch though with his collegiate wrestling stuff. Nice 3 crossbodies by PJ. Cool inverted Boston Crab by PJ into the bucket swing, and then a nice rope rebound German suplex into a cross arm breaker by Woods. But Josh Woods does win via submission. Then we have AEW. Nope. That was it for the week. Dummy. But anyways. Oh, yeah. My match of the week was Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano for that one. For the week of October 12th to the 17th. My woman's match of the week was Candice LeRae versus Shotzi Blackheart. The move of the week had to be that Air Raid Crash Stormbreaker by Tony Storm. Men MVP of the week was Josh Woods. Woman MVP of the week was Kylie Ray. Championship of the week was the Pure Title Championship, of course. Now we move on to October 19th through the 16th. 26th, excuse me. Alright, so this week is the 19th through the 26th. I promise next week won't be so chaotic. I'm only going to try to keep it to 1 to maybe 2 weeks. Got a little bit behind this week, but with Halloween and stuff like that, family visiting and stuff. So I got a little bit backed up on my notes. So anyway, we'll start with Raw from the 19th. Raw has a new theme song. We open up with Retribution versus the Hurt Business. Hurt Business does win via submission. Then the Fiend kills Retribution post-match. Next up was AJ Styles versus Matt Riddle. Styles has a new bodyguard, and he gets involved by it just being intimidating. It was a nice match. AJ wins via pinfall. Then we see Asuka versus Lana. Nice rolling around from Lana. Asuka wins the via submission, and then Nia Jax comes through and puts Lana through the announcer table. Baszler tries to attack Asuka, and Asuka fights her off. Then we see Mandy Rose versus Dana Brooke versus Baszler versus... Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Baszler and Jax versus Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans versus the Riot Squad. Jax and Baszler do win this one. Awesome performance by Elias was after this. And then Jeff Hardy attacks Elias. Next matchup was Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston. Sheamus and Kofi, always a master class. Kofi does win via pinfall, but a nice promo by Ali and the rest of Retribution afterwards. He was basically said he was the mysterious hacker, and now he's the leader of Retribution. Next up was Miz and Morrison versus Tucker and Gran El Gordo. Very weird. Tucker and Gran El Gordo win via pinfall. Next up was Braun Strowman versus Keith Lee, the real match. This was a smash mouth back and forth, 2 Mack trucks smashing into each other kind of match. Result was Strowman winning via pinfall. Lee gets load blowed, but he gets low blowed back after the match. Turnabout fair play. Now we move on to Impact. Impact opened up with Heath Slater versus Cousin Jake versus Hernandez versus Rhino versus Alicia. Hernandez winning this one via pinfall. Now in the next up we had Rosemary versus Havoc. Rosemary wins via pinfall. Then we seen Eddie Edwards versus Sami Callihan. It was a nice back suplex onto the ramp from Sami. Nice headbutt trading between the two. Nice Tiger Driver from Edwards. Callahan wins via pinfall. Then Shamrock destroys Edwards post-match. Then we see Willie Mack, TJP, Trey Miguel versus Rohit Raju, Jordan Grace, and Chris Bay. This was a nice one. Trey's team wins via pinfall. Then we seen the Good Brothers versus the North. LG is such a good striker, but this one ended in a no contest. Next up we have NXT. We open with Dream versus Ciampa versus Kushida. Ciampa is a house on fire, so fast, moves out of nowhere. Kushida does win this one via pinfall. Then we see Ember Moon versus Jessie Kamea. There's a nice code breaker off the top by Ember. Nice spinning heel kick, too. And, by Kamea. And Ember Moon does win via submission here. Then Dakota Kai takes her out after the match. Then we see Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed wins this one via pinfall twice because, Austin thought that it wasn't good enough and he wanted to fight till he won, but he didn't win again, so. Next up we had Legado del Fantasma versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jake Atlas, and Ashanti Adonis. Swerve did the front flip handspring off of the ring, but Legado del Fantasma wins via pinfall. Next up we see Drake Maverick and Killian Dane versus Everrise. Everrise wins via DQ. Spud snaps and beats them all down with a chair. Drake Maverick. Xia Li versus Cassie Catanzaro was next. Catanzaro wins via pinfall. Raquel Gonzalez kills everyone post-match after Xia Li gets secret messages from the Ninja Brotherhood of Assassins. Something like that. I don't know what the hell's going on. Next up we see Timothy Thatcher versus Anthony Green in a strange matchup. They kind of were showing moves around and it kind of transformed into a match. And then Anthony's debut, he gets clobbered into submission. And we see Breezango versus Lorcan and Birch. Masked Man comes out and takes out Fandango. And the results was that Lorcan and Birch win via pinfall, but the Masked Man was Pat McAfee, making a new stable within NXT. Next up is AEW. It opens with Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is very fast with quick attacks, but Wardlow caught Jungle Boy off of Hurricane Rana, sprung him into the ring pole. Result was Wardlow won via pinfall. Then we seen Sonny Kiss versus Kenny Omega. This was an instant V-Trigger, One Ring Angel. Kenny wins via pinfall. Done. Quick, instant match, but still big props for Sonny Kiss on that one. Then we seen Penta El Zero versus Rey Fenix. This was a super fast match. Crazy chop exchanges. Phoenix off the top rope with a tope con hilo. Nice top rope Spanish fly from Rey. Crazy standing destroyer from Rey. Phoenix does win via pinfall here. But the next match is Colt Cabana versus Hangman Page. Hangman Page wins that one via pinfall. Next up was Butcher and the Blade versus the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks won via pinfall. And we have SmackDown. Kevin Owens show opens us up with guest Daniel Bryan. Bryan wants the IC title defended every week. KO wants to tag with Bryan. They're interrupted by Dolph Ziggler and Rude, who are interrupted by the Street Profits, who are interrupted by Cesaro and Nakamura. Then we see Kevin Owens, the Street Profits, and Daniel Bryan take on Rude, Ziggler, Nakamura, and Cesaro. Profits and KO and Bryan win the match. Next up, we see Bianca Belair versus Zelina Vega. Belair wins in a very dominant display. Next up is Lars Sullivan versus Shorty G. Lars wins via pinfall. Shorty quits. But later on, we find out that he just quit going by Shorty G and he's gone back to Chad Gable. Thank God. Next up, we have Seth Rollins versus Buddy Murphy. Nice top rope senton from Murphy, but Rollins does pick up the win via pinfall here. Next up, we have the ROH. ROH from 1025 opens up with Josh Woods versus Jonathan Gresham. Gresham is 7-1 in ROH versus Woods 3-0 in the same with 0 rope breaks used in 2 submissions. Wins in the first 2 rounds. Woods passes Gresham off nice. Deadlift suplex slams him. There was a nice octopus stretch by Gresham, and a couple of moves he did was a call out to Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. Super fast stuff, flipping around, real life octopus stuff out of Jonathan Gresham. He does win via pinfall. Then we see a little segment where Vincent attacks Matt Taven before his match. Vincent senton bombs Taven through a table off of the top of a ladder. Crazy stuff. Then we seen Jay Lethal versus Tracy Williams. Notes: Lethal won both prior matches with lethal injection. 2-1 his career in tag matches with 30-minute Iron Man tag team match. Wins. Second round strength is he has strength and power 16 kicks. Only person in round to hit outside dive. Lower rope break usage from first round. Rope break force. Ankle was attacked. Anyways, this was a really good match. Tracy Williams did win this one by submission. I didn't think that Tracy Williams was going to win this one. I thought it was going to be Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham in the finals, just like a lot of people I'm sure did. But let me go through my moments of the week here. From the 19th to the 26th, my men's match of the week was Jonathan Gresham versus Josh Woods. My women's match of the week was Rosemary versus Havoc. My moment of the week was Jay Lethal losing the hot sauce. I didn't expect that to win, so not always good moments for moment of the week. But move of the week was Kenny Omega hitting that one-wing angel. My men MVP was Jonathan Gresham. My women's MVP was Ember Moon. My championship of the week was the Pure title. Now I want to talk just a little bit about Hell in a Cell. So here's a little bit about Hell in a Cell. It opened with a tremendous match with Roman and Jay. Tremendous match. You just gotta go out of your way and watch it. An hour of a Hell in a Cell match. Roman does win by making Jay quit. I won't give this full specifics because I really do want you to go through and watch that whole match. That was a really good one. Next up, we see Jeff Hardy versus Elias. Elias wins this match via DQ. I didn't think we'd see a DQ in a match happening at Hell in a Cell, but here we are. Then we have Otis versus The Miz. Miz does win via pinfall, and now he's the Money in the Bank holder, taking that off of Otis. Next up, is a match between Bayley and Sasha. There was a nice running meteor with a table assist from Banks. Nice sell parkour bit from Sasha. Nice shotgun drop kick to the stairs from Sasha. Nice Canadian destroyer into a chair. In the corner by Bayley, sunset flip, frog splash onto Bayley with a chair. Bayley to belly after a meteor off the ladder by Banks. Banks statement and a chair assist. Lots of stuff in this match, but Sasha does win via submission and becomes new women's champion. Then we see Bobby Lashley take on Slapjack. Lashley does win this win via submission. Retribution attacks him post-match. Next up, we had the big cage match, championship match between Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. This one was really, really good too. Orton wins it via pinfall, and he's the new champ. For Hell in a Cell, my match of the pay-per-view was Roman versus Jay. My MVP was Sasha Banks. My moment of the pay-per-view was Roman going berserk on both Usos, really. My championship was the heavyweight championship, which Randy won. So that was my quick thoughts on Hell in a Cell 2020. We are getting there, divers, I promise you. We are now going to cover October 26th to the 30th, and I don't even have all my notes here, but we're going to kick this off with Raw. Opens up Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles. Nice torture rack bomb by AJ Styles. I love a torture rack bomb. High Falcon Arrow by Jeff. AJ does win this via pinfall, and he is the first member of Team Raw for Survivor Series. Next up is Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado versus Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. This turns into a 24/7 title match, and the Lucha House Party wins via pinfall. Next up, we see Keith Lee versus Elias. This was a nice crossbody by Lee. Crazy pounce off the Spanish announce table. Nice power slam by Lee. Beautiful spirit bomb to pick it up via pinfall win by Keith Lee. Lee becomes the second Raw Survivor Series member. Then we see the Hurt Business take on Retribution. Mia Yim fakes a seizure basically to help Retribution, but the Hurt Business does win via DQ on that. Next up we see Drew McIntyre versus The Miz. Drew wins via pinfall. Next up we see Lacey Evans versus Peyton Royce and Lana versus Nikki Cross. Nice flying clothesline off the apron by Nikki. Nice top rope crossbody by Nikki. Nikki looked in good shape. Nice gory bomb modification by Peyton. But Lana does win by pinfall. Lana Samoan drop through the Spanish announce table. Again, this was the 6th week in a row. We then see Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Match was surprisingly technical. Backflip second kick out of the ring by Riddle. Nice kicks out of both guys, but a kick plus a Broton by Riddle. Crazy knee strike by Sheamus. A nice German suplex after a bro kick attempt by Riddle. Results was Sheamus wins via pinfall. Sheamus was the third member of Team Raw here. Move on to Impact. Impact opens up with Eric Young attacking a new Impact champ Rich Swann to start off the show. They start up a match, Eric Young versus Rich Swann. Nice kicks and aerial moveset by Swann. Nice handspring cutter into the Phoenix Splash by Swann. Swann wins via pinfall in this match. And then the next one up was Brian Myers versus Tommy Dreamer in a hardcore match. Tommy Dreamer, of course, came out dressed as Animal, showing major respect to the man who passed away, Animal, Road Warrior Animal. Myers bumps into the candy corn and thumbtacks. That was pretty neat. Swoggle was hiding in a trash can. He attacks Myers. See a DVD through a table by Dreamer. Dreamer wins this one via pinfall. Next one up was Triple XL versus the Rascals. AC, baby, good on him, lost 100 pounds. Can't believe it. He's looking so good, brother. And we see a nice handspring jumping knee by Wentz. Triple XL wins this one via pinfall. Next up one was Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steele. Kiera Hogan versus Tasha Steele, and Tasha Steele versus Alicia Edwards and Jordan Grace. Hogan and Tasha win this one. Then we had the craziest wedding ever, and Johnny Bravo was shot at the end of the show. Yep, that happened. Next up, we have NXT Halloween Havoc. A very special event. First time, 20 years? Show opens with Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. Devil's Playground match. Gargano super kicks a skeleton. Ghostface Killer attacks Priest with a steel pipe. Priest gets thrown off the stage. Gargano wins via pinfall, becomes the next North American champion. First ever two-time North American champion. Then we see that Pete Dunne is back. He's joining Pat McAfee's group with Lorcan and Birch. Then we see Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas. Escobar and Mysterio inspired Halloween Havoc gear. This was a quick one, but LDP gets involved. Santos picks up the win via pinfall. We see Dexter Lumis versus Cameron Grimes. And this match basically goes on throughout the whole night, where Dexter Lumis basically scares the holy hell out of Cameron Grimes all night until they get into the full match later on. But next up we do see Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. Good match. Nice headbutt by Ripley. Ripley versus Baszler vibes on this one. Ripley wins via pinfall. Then we see more Lumis versus Grimes. They get back into the ring. Lots of zombies and stuff that scared Grimes, and Lumis chokes out Grimes, basically, and we move on to the next match. We move on to the main event, which was Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai. Tables, ladders, and scares match. Io slaps LeRae, but doesn't. She snaps LeRae's ankle, but she doesn't climb the ladder. They both go through a double table. GFK comes back. Shotzi Blackheart takes her out, though. This was a really good match, but Io does retain the match to end Halloween Havoc. Very good Halloween Havoc in my book. I'm glad they brought that back, and I hope they bring it back next year for NXT. Maybe Shotzi can host that one again. We move on to AEW from the 28th. We open up with Wardlow versus Hangman Page. Oh, crazy spear through the barricade by Wardlow. Wardlow just throws Hangman around. Crazy missed top rope senton by Wardlow. Beautiful Harry moonsault by Page. Running shooting star press by Page. Page wins it via pinfall. And will be Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page in the finals. If you're listening here Saturday evening, Sunday morning, I did not get the latest results for the Ring of Honor or Full Gear, but I will try to get that within the next week or 2 weeks here when I put up the following podcast episode. We have Eddie Kingston versus Matt Sydal was next. There was a nice diving double knee from Sydal. Nice 6 spinning back fist by Kingston. Kingston uses Moxley's Bulldog choke and wins via submission. Next up, we see Orange Cassidy versus Cody Rhodes. This was as the last match they had went time limit. So this was a lumberjack match. There was a nice stalling suplex show-off spot from both. Cool use of the lumberjacks. Top rope superplex onto all the lumberjacks by Cody. Orange never been more focused or serious. Cody does win via pinfall here. Then we see Serena Deeb versus Layla Hirsch. This is the second time the NWA Championship title was defended on Dynamite. Very good match, but Deeb does win via submission here. And the next up was Shawn Spears versus VSK. Spears wins via pinfall here. Then Spears attacked by Scorpio Sky post-match. Next up we have Kenny Omega versus Pentagon Zero M. Of course, this because Phoenix was in some way in contact with somebody who had COVID, so he dropped out back to his brother Penta. This actually turned into a AAA title match. Nice chop exchange between the two. Nice backstabber by Penta. Tope con Hilo by Omega. Nice two sharp snapdragon snoplexes by Omega. There was a crazy double V trigger. Omega hits like 6 more V triggers. Then hits a Canadian Destroyer on the entrance ramp. He does win this one via pinfall, and like I said, he will be in the finals versus Omega November 7th. That would be tonight. So the 26th through the 30th, my men's match of the week was Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. My women's match of the week was Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai. My moment of the week was My moment of the week was Jonathan Gresham becoming the pure title winner. I know I didn't cover that. I didn't have my notes, but Gresham does become the pure title champ for Ring of Honor. He forms a faction with Tracy Williams. Tracy Williams, not formed, but Tracy Williams joins the fold of the foundation with him and Jay Lethal. So I think that's really going to be something special. Women's VIP was Io Shirai. My championship of the week was obviously the pure title once again. And that was just something special for the past couple of weeks. So that was my title of the week. So next up, we'd be talking about November 3rd through the 6th, finally. We're finally getting to last week. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, November 3rd through the 6th. Let's get it in. Just this past week, we're on some new stuff. So, with that being said, Monday Night Raw kicked off with Elias versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy wins via pinfall. Next up was Mandy Rose and Liv Morgan versus Jackson Baszler. Jackson Baszler win via submission here. The next up was R-Truth via Bobby Lashley. Bobby wins via submission. Drew Gulak becomes a 24/7 champ because Bobby smashes him onto R-Truth, basically. Then we had Strowman versus Lee versus Sheamus. Lee hits a tope suicida, crazy destroying the barricade spot, crazy Tower of Doom, awesome crazy, super crazy, amazing Tower of Doom. Strowman does win this one via pinfall. He's added to the Raw's Men's Survivor Series match. Next up is Nia Jax versus Lana. Jax wins via pinfall. I don't think they put her through the table this time. Next up was Hurt Business via New Day. Hurt Business wins via pinfall. Then we had Ricochet versus Tucker Knight. Ricochet wins via pinfall. Then we had Miz and Morrison versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre wins via pinfall. Drew Mac did a tope suicida. I think maybe to one-up Keith Lee, who did one earlier. Two big men moving like that. Insane. In the membrane. Next up, we got Impact. We seen it open up with Su Yung versus Deonna Purrazzo. Extremely good match. Deonna wins via DQ. We see Chris Bay versus Trey Miguel. Awesome match. Reversed 6-9 by Trey. The results was Bay does win via pinfall. Then we see a great segment between Raju and TJP. Fantastic promo between the two of them. They'll end up having a match. A straight up match, but if TJP loses, then he can't challenge Rahit for the X Division Championship match again. Then we see Ethan Page versus Luke Gallows. In my opinion, MJF is a poor man's Ethan Page, but Gallows does win via pinfall. Then we see Johnny Swinger versus Cody Deaner. Swinger wins via pinfall. Then we seen Sami Callihan and Eric Young versus Eddie Page and Rich Swann. Great teamwork by Rich Page and Swann. Made me actually care about Eric Young. All four meshed well, but Eric Young and Callahan win via pinfall after Ken Shamrock gets involved. Next up, NXT. Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai opens us up. Nice kick to the head on the apron by Moon. A nice two suicide dives by Ember Moon. Excuse me. One caught, one she fell on. This was a great opener though. Nice slugfest punch by Moon. Kai does win via pinfall. Next up was Cameron Grimes versus Kushida. Nice rolling holds by Kushida here. Cameron Grimes still a little spooked out from his match with Dexter Lumis. We see a super armbar drop. Some referee chicanery. The zombie ref ends up getting back into the thing. It scares Cameron Grimes. And he gets submitted for his troubles by Kushida, who picks up the win. Then we seen Drake Maverick and Killian Dane versus Everrise. This was a no contest match. It was interrupted by Team McAfee. They burn up the flag of Undisputed Era. They're the new team here. Then the main event was Velveteen Dream versus Tommaso Ciampa. Crazy German and sliding knee by Ciampa. Nice fairy tale ending by Ciampa. Ciampa picks up the win via pinfall. Then we move on to AEW. They'll go home for a Full Gear show. Opened up with Santana and Sammy versus MJF and Wardlow. MJF and Wardlow win this one via pinfall. Then we see the Best Friends. We see Miro versus Trent Beretta. Miro does win this one by submission. Then we see Private Party versus the Young Bucks. This was really good. Bucks win via pinfall. Then we see a fantastic Moxley Kingston segment. We see Nyla Rose take on Red Velvet. Great spin out powerbomb by Nyla. Nyla uses Sheeta's running knee, picks up the win via pinfall, and then hits her with another knee. We see the Nightmare Family, which was Cody and the Gun Club, versus the Dark Order, which was Silver, Colt, and 10. 10 took a Famouser. That was pretty cool. Nightmare Family does win via pinfall here. Then we'll move on to SmackDown. SmackDown, I had Sasha Banks versus Bayley. This was an excellent match. NXT TakeOver quality match. WrestleMania quality match. Banks does win this one via submission here. And then we see Baron Corbin versus Rey Mysterio. Corbin wins via pinfall. He's added to the Survivor Series match. Ruby Riott versus Natalya versus Zelina Vega. In a triple threat, Ruby wins via pinfall. She's added to the Women's Survivor Series match. Then we see Seth Rollins versus Otis, with a little bit of chicanery from Buddy Murphy, who might be back with Seth Rollins. Who knows? He wins via pinfall and added to the Survivor Series team. Then we see Jey Uso take on Kevin Owens with a low blow. Jey Uso does pick up the win and is added to the Survivor Series team. But with that being said, my November 3rd through the 6th moments are as follows. My men's match of the week is Young Bucks versus Private Party. My women's match of the week was Sasha versus Bailey. My moment of the week was Rohit Raju versus TJP, with a secondary going out to that Moxley Kingston segment. It was a tough pick, but I had to pick Rohit Raju in the TJP segment over that one. I just felt there was a lot of raw emotion, and Impact doesn't get as much play as all these other guys sometimes. So I felt like I gave him that, and I really did enjoy that Rohit Raju TJP segment. My men MVP was Kushida. My woman MVP was Su Yung. The championship of the week was the AEW Tag Team titles in my book. So that leaves us off. That was a big, long episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for sticking around with me. It's only going to be more from here. I'm going to be taking on MLW as they come back with their relaunch, so I'll be adding that as well to the dive here. Like I said, thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time out. I just wanted to update you with my big block of wrestling news for the past couple of weeks, and I'm going to catch you on the next dive here, probably either next week or the week after that. Don't forget to check out my YouTube within the next couple of days. I'll probably post that on my Duke's Dive Facebook page. I will be covering, like I said, Camp Leapfrog, things that go bump in the ring, and make sure you follow the Wicked Turtle Network, watch What's Up Peeps, and check out that Quarantine Wrestling playlist of weekly, episodic, independent local promotions around you. Like I said, I'm going to put that in the description. So till next time, guys, take care, and I'll catch you on the next dive.